If you own a 70 series Land Cruiser, you already know the armrest situation is borderline criminal. And when you start looking at your options, the price gap is massive and they kind of all look similar. Therefore, this begs the question, are they all actually the same? In my previous armrest video, I proved that the cheapest Amazon armrests are exactly the same item as the Cruiser Store armrests. However, many of you pointed out that the One Stone armrests are in fact the premium brand. And some of you mentioned that One Stone actually invented the 70 series armrest, which the rest have since copied. Therefore, in this video, I'm going to be setting the record straight with how the armrest was invented and answer the massive question, is the One Stone armrest any different to the rest? What's up everybody, I'm Ayman and welcome back to Bush Business. Before we get into it, full disclosure. The One Stone armrests were provided to me after I reached out to them asking for their help to make this video happen. They were kind enough to supply the armrests, as well as answering any questions that I had about the subject. And this already says a lot about the One Stone armrests, because if their item was inferior or the same, they wouldn't even be supporting this video. But more than that, as a small YouTube channel without any financial income, this kind gesture goes a very long way. So thank you Adrian and One Stone for making this video happen. Let's get stuck straight into business. Back in 2018, the owner of One Stone, Adrian, had a simple problem that we all have. His Land Cruiser Troopy was incredibly uncomfortable on long drives without an armrest, so he decided to do something about it. He built a crude armrest to make his weekend trip to the Vic High Country a little bit more comfortable. And on that trip, he also realized that the armrest was the perfect height for a drink bottle. And that got him thinking, what if he can also add a cup holder to it? Two birds with one stone, a cup holder and an armrest for the Land Cruiser. And that's how One Stone got its name. Not long after that, Adrian's mates started asking for armrests for their own cars, and One Stone evolved from low volume vacuum molding to injection molding with a design that continued to be refined over the years. With success also came competition and cheap copies. Therefore, the first question to be answered is to confirm that One Stone was indeed the original inventor and the designer of the 70 series armrest. Now, in my original video, I compared the Cruiser Store armrest to the cheapest no-brand version I could find on Amazon, and the result was that they were effectively exactly identical. Same factory, same mold, same product. But I never looked at or tested the One Stone armrests. I just assumed that it was the same item, just more expensive. And this did upset some viewers, as it was seen that I was discrediting a reputable Australian business. Certainly not my intention, and I'm here today to prove that. Let's have a closer look at the One Stone armrests to highlight the differences. Starting off with the packaging. The One Stone box is clearly different. It looks and feels more premium. Inside, you'll find additional protective stickers, proper installation instructions, and some prep wipes. The other two armrests had identical packaging, which was very different to One Stone. Picking both armrests up and comparing them side by side, there are also numerous differences. Some are more obvious than others, but I'm going to cover all of them in detail just to be thorough. To begin with, I'm not going to make you wait until the end of the video and tell you that they have the exact same factory mold stamp. The One Stone is a different mold and from a different factory to the others. The first objective difference that you can see is the finish. The One Stone has cleaner angles, a more refined mold, and noticeably superior finish. When you put them next to each other, the One Stone is more rounded with less plastic overhanging. The One Stone armrest also has a noticeably different cushion pad. It is thinner but denser when compared to the Cruiser Store. I will be going on a very long drive in a few days' time, and this is what future Ayman thinks. Future Ayman says they're comfortable, feels the same. I don't think there's any difference in how it feels, they're both comfortable. Moving on to the cup holders. The cup holder on the One Stone is larger than the generic version and looks completely different. From what I can tell, the cup holder on the One Stone is replaceable if damaged, where the Cruiser Store has a rubber insert in a non-removable cup. I do like the idea of the insert in theory, but I find that it is too small for most bottles or big coffee cups. And this actually is a bigger issue than you might assume, because every time the bottle gets stuck, the armrest gets pulled out when you take the bottle out. The One Stone wouldn't have this issue, but I assume that you might need to hold your bottle if you're going over some bumpy ground. However, the differences up the top are minor when compared to what's underneath, because this is where the cheap copies cut corners and can actually damage your car and wallet. The reinforcing ribs on the One Stone are considerably larger than the Cruiser Store armrest, and because these armrests are going to cop a lot of sun, a lot of heat and constant use, the One Stone will be the more durable product in the long term. I can also see that the mounting design of both armrests is very different. One Stone is non-adjustable but fits perfectly on the Land Cruiser. The nuts are held secure with crush washers. The Cruiser Store, however, has a serrated flange nut design with no crush washers. The One Stone also has slightly longer bolts, therefore I think the One Stone armrests will handle the vibrations much better in the long term without falling apart. Now let's talk about the magnets, and this is arguably the most crucial difference, and most important part if you care about your paint. In my original video, I recommended adding paint protection film to the doors to stop the magnets and the armrests from scratching your paint. And I'm very lucky I did that, because over time, the thin plastic stickers covering the magnets have shifted, exposing the metal magnets. And they have actually started cutting into that protective film. If I didn't have that film, there would have been direct damage to my door's paint. Looking at the One Stone magnets, it is a completely different setup. The magnets themselves are larger and significantly stronger, but more importantly, rather than having thin plastic stickers to protect the magnets, they are covered in thick rubber inserts. The magnetic mount itself also looks to be stronger and replaceable than the generic version. And this is a big upgrade that physically protects your vehicle better than the cheaper armrests. Another difference I noticed was the color of the armrest itself. There are some fancy tools that can measure color accurately, and I don't have those tools. However, to my eye, the One Stone is a more accurate match to the Land Cruiser interior plastic. It looks more blue, where the Cruiser Store looks a little bit on the green side. So there are quite a few differences between the armrests physically. And after comparing them together in closer detail, I think it is safe to confirm that the One Stone armrests are not the same as the cheaper copies on the online market. They are clearly not from the same factory, and the One Stone armrests are superior in build and quality. But is it worth the extra money? Look, if you don't care about your paint, the cheap armrests do the job. For how long? Who knows? And I'm not going to be surprised if One Stone actually use better UV rated plastic than the cheaper armrests. But if you're like me and you care about your Land Cruiser, you use it daily and quality matters, the One Stone is the one to buy. You buy once, you cry once, because repainting your door is going to cost you a lot more than the $100 you're going to save buying the cheaper armrest. And on top of that, you're supporting the person who actually invented this thing, not a factory copying his design. Let me know in the comments below if you already have an armrest and which one you own. Also, be sure to let me know what videos you'd like to see on this channel in the future, and I'm going to try my best to create the reviews that matter the most to you. Finally, if this video helped you make a better buying decision, please thank me by hitting that like and subscribe button. It costs you absolutely nothing, but it helps me make this content. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.